Now you notice that the computer identified 3 cylinders, 353, 55, and 56. So we've got at least 3 cylinders that have a problem. Let's get a little bit more specific and see if we can narrow that down a little bit.
My next step would be to perform a power balance test.
Now when it is running this power balance, you can see that it has the firing order right there. It starts with the blue line, it just continues, and every time it paints a new trace, it makes it in gray. That way you can see if it's consistent or if there's glitches, or if one cylinder or the other one is the problem. Now in this case, cylinder 5 and 3. 5 is contributing the least to power. Now 3 possibly could be in response to 5 because since this is low, it may not have enough time to recover. But 1, 4, 2, and 6 are contributing fairly equally. 5 and 3 are a problem. Now 4, 5, and 6 are on the same bank of the engine. 3 is on the other one. So at this time, I'm going to focus on 5 as our problem. 3 is taking a while to respond to 5 being bad. But 1, 4, 2, and 6 are contributing equally to power.
What else would you want to do to narrow it down, and why? Begin to gather data now that can help us isolate the evidence.
So with a misfire of this type, the problem is also going to be affecting the fuel. So I should be able to see the problem or see what's going on by looking at the oxygen sensors. So I'm going to choose the parameters I want to look at. And I'm going to look at my oxygen sensor bank 1 sensor 1 and oxygen sensor bank 2 sensor 1. Now I'm also going to look at my short-term fuel trim and my long-term fuel trim. And I'm going to graph view them all. So as you're looking at this, you can see my top is my long-term, the middle is my short-term bank 1, bank 2, and my oxygen sensor bank 1, bank 2. Now this is with the key on, but the engine is not running. And you can see that my oxygen sensors are just a steady value. Now I'm going to start the engine and we'll let it idle. Okay, we've got to let it warm up, and you can see that the oxygen sensors are warming up and beginning to work. Again, bank 1, bank 2, and my short term. Now if you notice these numbers here, oxygen sensor bank 1 is around 130, bank 2 is about 150. Now this is in millivolts. Now an oxygen sensor should be switching somewhere close to 100 millivolts going up to about 900 millivolts. And these are staying very, very low. They're not switching at all. And if you look at our fuel trim, on bank 1, we're at 1%, and bank 2 at 1%. Now these numbers here indicate that it is very, very lean. So we should see the short-term fuel trim adding fuel. This should be very high, and it's not. Now I'm going to raise the idle here a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Now I'm going to go to wide open throttle. Back to idle. Wide open throttle. Idle. Now let's review the numbers. So our oxygen sensors are staying very, very lean. Our short term is not adding any fuel to compensate for that lean condition. If you heard me, I said a couple times that I went to wide open throttle. There was no change. So we're going to start this back up again. So something's not right here. What is it?
What is not right with this data? The O2 is an input signal. The short-term fuel trim shows what the PCM is doing in response to the O2 input. The PCM here is not doing anything in response to the O2 signal. So that's what's wrong with this data.
Is the engine truly lean, or are the oxygen sensors dead, or are they just not reporting right? Because whenever an engine is lean, we should see the computer adding fuel. The short term should start adding fuel. So what I'd like to do now is see if we can't force these oxygen sensors to report a rich condition. We're already lean. We could create a vacuum leak and make it lean, but it's already lean. Let's do the opposite and see if we can make it go rich.